Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Creep on June 24. Hashtag Creep on June. Excuse me, I just had to take a drink. It appears that it is the 26th day of June, which is not only 1 month before my birthday, but it is also the day that I am supposed to be presenting. So what I have for you here are my makes for the 26th day of Creep on June. Now, I did have a tag that I was supposed to use, and so what I did was I printed it out a few times and created a little tab-bound journal. I don't know that you can actually see that. And in it, what I have done is I have taken some of the highlights of the Creep on June up to and including my day. And I've added little tags and I've just made a little booklet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this first because I also have some other stuff that I have done. And like I said, I took some tags. I took the little freebie and I wrote unsolved because at the beginning, of course, nothing has been solved yet. And I added in the little hand and the church to represent the reverend. And of course, this little photo to represent the cemetery. And here I have a picture of the cemetery. If you've been following along, you'll know what all of these things mean. If you haven't, go back and read the story. And then, of course, I have the little bureau where Rose pulls it out from the wall because she hears a scratching and she finds the words "get away" sort of scratched and or written into the wall. And I have the little tags. This one includes the stones that begin falling from the ceiling while Rose is standing there and a shadowy figure in one of the hallways. And then we move on to, of course, these are not necessarily in order. I just did what fit with what I was doing. And then, of course, we have the broken plates in the kitchen. This represents the window that Alice, of course, this is my Alice, where she sees the shadowy figure of a little boy standing there staring at her. And then we have the study. If you recall in the story, Rose is awakened in the middle of the night, hearing sounds in the study, and she goes to investigate only to find that there's nothing there. And then, of course, she also hears the piano playing mysteriously, and she thinks, oh, perhaps it's Alice, but then she realizes that it really isn't. And, of course, we near the end of the story where Rose and Jeffrey seek a solution to their situation, and they find out about a man named Ernest Brundle and his team, which includes Carl Edwards and Dorothy Blakely. And so this is a piece of ephemera. It was a letter written, and I've sort of made it a little tuck to stick in names. And then on the other side, we have the time when Ernest arrives at the house and he starts setting up his camera, and of course they find him through the newspapers, and their case is CPI case 374. And Ernest is invited to stay over at the manor with Rose and Jeffrey instead of going to the hotel or the inn where he was going to stay. And his night there is what makes him realize that, yes, there truly is something going on at Craftley Hall. And he calls in his team, and they have a seance, which is what I would call it. And the case is then solved. So that is my little my little tag booklet for the day. But of course, me being me, that can't be all that I did for the day. And so you can see I've been working on my journal, my little file, I should say, and I've added some beads to a couple of the strings here. Maybe if I bring it a little closer, I do have the other two strings to go, and I have a whole little jar of beads that I want to keep adding on, but they weren't done yet. And I have grabbed some time that my daughter has actually given me by taking out the little puppy for a ride so that I could have some peace and quiet and actually do my make. Today is actually the 24th, but I wanted to make sure that everything was done and ready to go so that it would all be ready on the 26th. Okay, now let me show you what I have been doing. You've seen the inside of the journal with all of the torn pages and all of the little bits and things that I've been adding. But what I did was I took the whole second signature and I have begun dedicating it to my make. And I'm hoping to also have the balance of the days added. I do have a few pages left. I keep thinking I'm hitting something, but I'm rolling on the beads. And so what I have done is I have taken a liberty on this story and expanded on it. I'm just going to move my lamp up a little bit because it's kind of annoying me. Okay, so I started out my section of the story, as I said, by taking a little bit of a liberty and expanding on it. And so you'll see how it comes in the following pages. But what I did write was, having finally realized that neither Rose nor Alice have been hallucinating about the occurrences they have described to him, and feeling pangs of guilt for having drugged the two women, Jeffrey seeks a resolution to the situation. Jeffrey settles down with his newspaper and discovers an article about a gentleman, Ernest Brundle, whose claim to fame is his ability to discover and mitigate supernatural occurrences. Jeffrey and Rose set about penning a letter to Mr. Brundle and send it off in the post the very next day. Hoping to receive a hasty response, Jeffrey places a 4-pence stamp on the envelope. Now that is a definite allusion to when Tracy showed us our freebies entitled The Love Story. So you can see I created a little pocket using the envelope that came along with the letter that was written to Mr. Brundle by Jeffrey. And we shall move on because, of course, what happens, but they do receive a response. Several days later, Rose and Jeffrey receive a letter back from Mr. Brundle. He is, of course, very eager to help. His return correspondence details his arrival to Craftley Hall within the coming days. Jeffrey and Rose, both very satisfied with his response, await his arrival. And so what I've done again is I have taken one of the envelopes, the one that comes with this letter. You can see I added a little wax seal to the letter, and I've just inked around the edges, and of course another little wax seal here, and I've made a little pocket. Now if I can just tuck the letter in, because I did cut it a little bit weird so that it did look old. His letter, of course, took a little longer to get there because he only used a 2-pence stamp. And we move on. In the days that follow, the Binders continue their research into the cases that Mr. Brundle has handled. Satisfied with what they discover about him, their impatience grows as they await his arrival. So you can see this was one of the add-ons to the kit. It was a bonus page, and this is their little file folder where they're keeping track of all of their research about Mr. Brundle and his committee of psychic investigators. Let's turn the page and see what happens next. In an attempt to keep themselves busy and also to quell their impatience, Jeffrey and Rose begin to record details of the odd, queer things that have been occurring at the manor since their arrival, and later the arrival of Alice. They gather the legal documents pertaining to their purchase of Craftley Hall, as well as an old map of the surrounding area. And as you can see, I've taken the map, which was part of the freebie, and this is my picture that I have selected to be Rose and Jeffrey. And we move on. Whoops, I think I glued my pages together. Nope, not too bad. Finally, the day arrives. Whilst out taking their daily walk, Rose and Jeffrey hear the sound of a motor car pulling into the driveway of their home. As they near the front gate, they see a Ford sedan parking near the carport and a gentleman who they assume to be Mr. Brundle exiting the vehicle. Ernest sets about gathering a multitude of paraphernalia from the boot of his fancy car. As they approach, Jeffrey is amazed at the amount of items he has brought with him. And you can see this is all ephemera from the kit. Rose and Jeffrey out for their walk. After a short chat and having extended an invitation to Mr. Brundle to stay at the manor in lieu of the local inn, Jeffrey and Rose watch as Ernest begins to arrange the tools of his trade. So you can see he has all his little meters and his little cameras and his bag of tricks here that he's laying out. And of course I believe that's a light bulb of some kind. I can't really tell. It does look like a fluorescent light bulb. And we move on. Exhausted after his long drive and having enjoyed a delicious dinner with his hosts, Mr. Brundle turns in for the evening. Having at first believed that what Jeffrey, Rose, and Alice have been experiencing was simply the unusual sounds of an older home like Craftley Hall, Ernest soon discovers that his inclinations are terribly inaccurate. There might be more to this house than what he had assumed. So you can see I took a little bit of liberty and I wrote on the mirror, go. And then this is the one where it says you, so you go. And of course, spooky candles and the book that he was writing in that he soon finds on the floor when the bumps in the night start to happen. And this could be the bed that he slept in. Moving along. The following morning, after relating to the Binders his experiences of the previous evening, Ernest informs them that he will be calling for, you can see I left out a word. It took me so long to type all of this and to size it so that it would fit properly on the page. I must have printed it 3 or 4 times before it actually was the right size. Ernest informs them that he will be calling for the rest of his team to come and assist him with his psychical investigation. That afternoon, Carl Edwards and Dorothy Blakely arrive. And I just thought that this was really cool, this spooky staircase that Ernest may have gone up or down while his sleep was being disturbed that evening. With the assistance of his team, Mr. Brundle prepares the dining room for that evening's seance. And I believe that's the last page. Yes, I did end it with that. The group gathered around the small circular table Ernest had placed in the dining room. Da, da, da. And that's where my addition to the story ends. But of course, that is not where my makes end. Because I like to fiddle about and make things, I, of course, had to create a room where the seance was taking place. And this is fashioned from a Tim Holtz vignette box, one of the vignette frames, and again, one of the windows. And you can see I have the spooky little people in the window. This is the window in the back of the room where the seance is taking place, and they're looking out the window at everyone. And let me raise my camera just a smidge. Hang on, I don't want to make you seasick. There we go. You might be able to see everything a little bit better. And so what I've done, I've taken some of the skeletons, the little lady skeletons, and I have them sitting at a table where, of course, there's a little candle. And along here, I don't know if you're really going to be able to see it too well, but their guest, who is, of course, another lady skeleton, is sitting on this side of the table. And another guest, who is this, I don't know, he looks kind of devilly to me. This little devil man in here is sitting at the other side of the table. And I have taken some of the metallic paper and used it to create a bit of a, oh gosh, what are they called? The things above your door. I can't think of what it's called. And I've added some little Tim Holtz hardware and a skeleton, a skull head and a bone. And if you can see in here, down here, there is, of course, a little bottle with an eyeball on it. It could be Eye of Newt. And I added a little bit of lace to make, of course, the end of the tablecloth. And this is one of Tim Holtz's candles, and I've punched out a couple of 1-inch circles here to make them look like the plates that the candle is sitting on. And of course, on the back is what else would be caught up in the eaves, the outside eaves of a house, but some moss, and in this case, a skull and some bones. Now that is not all there is to it, because of course, it lights up. And I am going to shut out my light that's over me here so that you can see that it does indeed light up. And you can see how that light is kind of reflecting behind the bottle of blood or bottle of eyeball. And unfortunately, I really can't show you, but I do have the Crypt Paste Glow on here, and it's too bright out for it to really be glowing, but it does glow. And of course, if we turn it over, the lights are on the back as well, lighting up the spooky skeleton, and of course creating an eerie glow around the window where those two creepy little people are peeking out. So there we go. I hope you have enjoyed all of my makes, and I hope you have enjoyed day 26 and that you've been enjoying all of the Creep on June so far. A lot of the makes have been marvelous. I'm going to shut that off and I'm going to lay it down. Kind of try to keep it in shot and turn my light back on. There we go. That's better. And bring in my little tag booklet that I created because I do have to use my tag for the day. And of course, bring in my little journal or my file. And let me see if I can flip back to. And I hope you enjoyed the add-on to my story. So there you go, guys. I guess I'm hoping that you are not disappointed that we didn't make anything, but we have been making a lot of things. And so I thought that perhaps on my day, I could just show you what I've made. And we will be back again because we do have the 27th, the 28th, the 29th, and the 30th. And I will be doing my Creep on June giveaway. I have thought about it, and I'm not sure if I'm going to post it on the 30th. If I do post it on the 30th, it'll probably be very late in the day. I don't want to take away from whomever is doing the 30th because I do believe it will be Tracy. If she can get her Wi-Fi up and running, her internet has been poopies for her. So yeah, I'm probably going to do it on the 30th and then post it late in the day because this way you guys can also get all your comments in. So yeah, I will be doing that. And I'm sure that we'll be doing 1 or 2 more tags. I am playing catch up because as I said, today is the 24th. So I am due to show you days 18 to 24. And we'll be making a tag together, I promise. So there you go, guys. I'm going to send you lots of love and big hugs and ask you to please remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and go over and check out everybody else. I will add the calendar to the description box below. It still functions. If there's a day you may have missed, you just need to tap on that day and it'll bring you straight to the YouTube video. Okay, guys, I'll see you soon. In fact, probably tomorrow, even though it is only the 25th. You'll see this in 2 days, but I do have something planned for tomorrow. Okay, guys, thanks. Lots of love and big hugs, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.